I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. So it's been a very long day for me today. I've been working on formatting my new book. Dang, it was me all along. And if I could have thrown my computer across the room or banged my head against the wall a few times, it might have went better. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm a little tired, but I'm here with you tonight and ready to answer your questions when we get into the show a little further. And so thank you, Miss Cindy U-Turn Sash, for throwing a topic at me. And she suggested I talk about integrity. And it's interesting because according to some really smart people, when we have integrity, we have integrity with ourselves. And when we are dealing with other people, we're honest with them. And to me, it's all, I see it the other way around. I think that I need to be honest with myself and have integrity with other people. So what does that all mean? Do you find that you lie to yourself, that you tell little fibs to other people? Like, oh, well, I can't make it because I'm going to be doing something else. But the reality is you are out on a date, home doing your hair. You really just don't even want to be with the person in the first place. So you just like made up an excuse. Some people maybe do it a little bit, and there are other people that do it a lot. And so to me, there really is two different things going on. And I'm going to use the integrity with addressing other people. So when I'm working with my clients, for example, my feeling is, or talking to you here, answering your questions and doing these introductions, all I have is my integrity to offer to you. Because if I wasn't telling you what I thought was true and wasn't being honest with the material that I was receiving from spiritual sources or from my vast, deep wisdom and, inner knowledge, then what would there be? I would just be like a lying pack of crap up here telling you stuff that, I don't know. I have big issues when people, and the way I like to frame it is they pull stuff out their butt and they make things up and they do not separate that this is my opinion versus this is my truth, or this is what I think, or this is what I feel. And I just have really big issues. But when you're sitting there being, okay, so for me, it's very easy to be honest with people in that way. But in the same breath, for a very long time, and I'm just kind of busting myself here, it was really hard for me to be, and I'm going to say, honest with myself. And I think we all do it. I think we all have different periods of time where there's something we want to say or something we want to do, and we choose not to do it. We rationalize why something should be one way, while everything inside of us is telling it should be different. So, for example, I was dating this one guy, and every night, literally every night, I would go to bed, and at like 3:00 in the morning, I would wake up and I would be fuming mad and so pissed off and so angry at him. But I wouldn't say anything and I wouldn't do anything about it. And now I realize that I wasn't being honest with my feelings, or maybe I had those feelings, But there's a second part to that, being honest with yourself or having integrity with yourself or other people, and that's taking action on it. So you can think, oh man, I'm going to kick them out. But if you don't ever kick them out, then nothing's ever going to happen and nothing is going to change. Sometimes we play little games with ourselves. We minimize our feelings. We might be convincing ourselves that it's some other way, like it's not so bad, or well, they only did this because they had been drinking, or they had a bad day at work, or they came from a bad family, to excuse somebody's behavior or excuse why you might be having a certain experience with someone else. And so when we do that, we don't end up having peace inside. We end up walking around anxiety filled, walking around on eggshells. And until we're able to really be honest with ourselves and say, this sucks and I don't want to do it anymore, and being clear with ourselves, then it really is almost impossible to take action to change it. And sometimes we're just not really ready for the change. We're not ready to, emotionally bring it up. We might not be in a position to accept the consequences. Sometimes if you are honest with someone, are honest with yourself, and honest with someone else, there might be consequences that come along with it, and maybe we're not prepared to accept those consequences at that time. So for example, and I kind of talked about this a little bit last week in a different way. You're married to someone and you are the primary caregiver. You don't have a job, you don't have a bank account, but every night you're waking up at that 3 o'clock in the morning, just hating the other person, and you finally own up to the fact and are honest with yourself that you need to go, that you need to do something else. But in that moment, it might not be the right time. It might not be the right situation to do that. And so sometimes it will take a little bit of time to take that action, but as long as you've made that commitment to yourself, then there's more of a chance that it will move forward. And taking those actions really can take courage. Sometimes you have to take a really deep breath. And as I like to joke, put those big girl panties on and actually say something. But what you'll find is that if this piece inside of you keeps barking at you, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and your world is just swirling around with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and you just can't rest. Once you take the action, once you make the commentary, once you move all of that forward from inside of you to outside of you, the first thing you'll notice is that your inner world will calm down. You will calm down. The anxiety will go away. Now, it doesn't mean that you might not get blowback from the person that you say whatever it is to, and that is also part of paying attention to what potential consequences there are and being prepared for what those consequences are. And sometimes, depending on who you're dealing with, sometimes you have to think really deep, last ditch efforts. If I do this, what's the worst case scenario that could possibly happen, and be prepared for that, which can be anxiety driving right there. The worst thing that can happen is that you spend years and years in a situation where you're not happy because you're just lying to yourself. You're minimizing yourself. You're minimizing your feelings, and not really living a satisfying or meaningful life, being authentic to yourself. And that's just really sad. So if you find that there's something bothering you, if there's something that comes up fairly regular, um, give yourself some time, listen to your heart, and do the right thing if it's hard. And if you're not quite sure what to do, we've talked about these things. Practice your breathing, do some tapping, journal about it, meditate on it, get a reading from me on it, to help you gain clarity as to what your next steps should be. And so it really is important for you to listen to yourself and honor yourself. And actually, this is a kind of unrelated story, but it's a really good story. So I have a client who had breast cancer, and so they put her on this medication to stop her estrogen production, as a way in case it was an estrogen driven cancer. And part of that therapy is they recommend that you take calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D, because the medication can leach those minerals out of your bones and cause osteoporosis. And so my client, she kept worrying about getting osteoporosis. Worry, worry, worry. Oh, I'm afraid. Oh, I'm afraid. So that's what was coming up and creating all of this anxiety in her. And I kept telling her, well, if you take the medication, then it'll balance it out and it won't be a problem. And then I'd talk to her again, and she's like, oh, I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm worried. But she still didn't take the medication. And so this went on for about 6 months. And I finally said to her, Emily, I'm just going to, it's a made up name, Emily, if you took the medication or the supplements that were recommended, all of the anxiety that you're experiencing will just go away, because there's this thing inside of you that keeps saying, I need to take the medication. I need to take the medication, but you're not. So why don't you listen to that? Why don't you honor that? Why don't you be honest with yourself and take the action necessary, and then you'll feel better. And since that point in time, we have never talked about her bone density, because all of the anxiety went away. So there's listening, there's lying to yourself, but there's also that part of listening to yourself and taking action on whatever it is that is coming up on the inside. Anyway, so I hope all of you can maybe take a moment, I mean, not obviously in this second, to pay attention, to become aware of what kinds of commentary is chronically coming up inside of your awareness, and notice if it's something that you need to take some kind of action on, whether it is taking a supplement or communicating to someone or walking away from someone or whatever that is, and being honest with yourself, because that anxiety is never going to go away until you do something and are proactive about yourself and your life. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the questions here in 1 second, but before I do, I just want to remind everyone, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, you can stop on my webpage, soulhealer.com, and use the contact form and reach out to me. It is loaded with articles and information, as well as copies of all of my books are available there. I would love it if you would like me, Dr. Rita Louise, on Facebook, and be informed of this show coming up every week, in the link, the important link. Or if you are a YouTube person or want to find me on YouTube, it is Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and thumbs up the show and all those YouTube things, please. And then also, if you are interested in becoming an intuitive or a energy medicine practitioner, intuitive counselor, or certified medical intuitive, please check out my training program at AppliedEnergeticsInstitute.com. That's AppliedEnergeticsInstitute.com. dot com. Dot com. Okay. So please post your detailed questions in the chat box and we will get started. Ooh, big old group. All right. So we have Miss Wendy in the house. Hey, Miss Wendy. And we have Christine. Hi, Christine. Oh, you're there again. I'm going to come back, Christine. And we have Debbie in the house. Hey, girly girl. And Mary. And we have Lexi. Lexi, I will come back. And then Veronica says, howdy, that topic is right on for me right now. Veronica, that's because I do psychic stuff. And I said, oh, let's see, what does Veronica need for me to talk to her about tonight? Bam, there it is. So she wants to know, where's Marco? Have no idea. And then we have Dawn. Are you live? This is live, or else I wouldn't be reading your question in here. And Dawn, yes, you can get a reading, but you need to ask a question. And yes, Mike, oh, hi, Mike. Yes, you need to ask a question. Please don't ask a question where you would like for me to predict the future, like what's going to happen to me next week. And I don't do dead people. I mean, you can ask about a ghost in your house, but if you want to know about someone that's transitioned, I don't do that. So, but go for it. I love questions. And we have Mary. Hey, Mary. And Miss Cindy, who turned me on to the topic today. And we have Chris and Jerry, although it's probably just Jerry. All right, so I'm going back. All right, let me take that off. I'm going back up to the top because I did see questions. All right, so Christine. Okay, my question is, what is the situation with new guy who came in a few days ago? Should I stay or go? Okay. A little interesting. Well, the impression that I'm getting, Christine, is that you should go. If this guy is worth his weight in salt, or if this relationship is something that he is going to value or value you, then you should go to see if it continues after this period. I feel like if you stay, it will be unhealthy. If you leave and it continues, it could turn into something good. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And again, if you have a follow-up question, just post that below. All right, so Alexi says, job saga continues. My boss lied about me, and I didn't see it prior to her turning it into HR. So I really can't figure out why I'm still there. I have an interview tomorrow at another place as a brand ambassador. It pays more. Not much, but it is a good place with a good mission. Not sure if I can stay where I am for the other position to open. Wow. I mean, Lexi, I feel like the other place has so much better energy. Where you're at now, I mean, it just feels pretty toxic anyway. And the other positions you were looking at just seemed extremely political, extremely, knife in your back kind of things. This other place has really good energy. I feel like they'll work you to death because they're kind of understaffed. But I feel like there's much more of a team effort, let's work on it together thing. So if you can get that, because I don't predict the future, but I like the energy way better. And I feel like emotionally, there'll be freedom for you to be you, and it won't make you feel like you're living in a dysfunctional relationship every day at work. All right. Uh-uh. All right, so Chris and Jerry says, "Hi, just want to tell you I saw a ghost or what I think is actually residual energy in a New Orleans hotel. I got up to go to the bathroom around 2 a.m. and I looked toward the mirror and everything changed. I was looking at an outside scene. A boy was sitting on a ledge in ragged, outdated clothing. My eyes went upward from old upbeat boots, messed up shoestrings, ragged muslin, or rather the pants looked as if they were made from potato sacks. An old leather belt held them up. All right, so I only got that far in the question, and I'm not seeing the rest. Okay, so let me just kind of scope at that real quick. I mean, I do feel I don't get the impression that it was an active haunting. It definitely has more of a uh, residual feel. And actually, I feel like it is more tied to the location. And it makes me wonder if prior to that property being built, um, constructed, if that person hadn't been on that lot, in that area, in that position, that you are actually seeing them. Um, yeah, I'm going to go with that. Let me know what you think. I mean, because usually when you see a ghost, you see the ghost. You don't see the vision that the ghost had. Um, so, okay, so Mary says, any messages for me regarding my health, please? Okay, so Mary, we have a lot of body parts. And so if you could narrow it down to, I have a stomach issue or an intestinal issue, or I'm having this kind of symptom, it will make it so that I can give you a better answer. And same thing with you, Dawn. If you can be a little bit more specific about your health, and even more about what your living place. Okay, so Veronica has a dog question, but she didn't put the question. So put the question. All right. Okay, I've been dealing with long COVID exhaustion for a year and a half now, and the doctors say there's nothing they can do. Any thoughts? And hi, remember me from Minnesota. Well, if there was a picture, I know the name, so probably. I want to say it's Frontline Doctors. Hang on one second. I have to go on a different machine. It'll just be where I want to find you. All right. So if you go to COVID-19 criticalcare.com, COVID-19 criticalcare.com, and actually the group is and I'm sorry about looking this way, FLCCC Alliance. That's FL and then 3 C's, FLCCC Alliance. The webpage is COVID-19 criticalcare.com. And they have a page that says like vaccine injury, and they have a protocol on it. It's pretty intense. There's about 10 different supplements that they recommend. And so I was turned on to this because I was having COVID exhaustion for about 6 months, and I feel amazing. I've been on it for over a month. My feeling is that, I bought one bottle of everything. And so I'm going to buy a second bottle. So whether that's like 2 months or 3 months worth of supplementation, but that's what I'm going to do. And it has helped immensely. Medical doctors don't really have anything. So I'm sorry about that. But FLCCC Alliance, the webpage is COVID. All right, maybe I can do this. Will this work? No, it will not work. All right, so I'm not going to do that. I thought I could be tricky. All right. But the webpage is COVID19criticalcare.com. Okay. That's a great question, because I think there are so many people that are suffering from long COVID and don't really have any resources. And I wouldn't even bring it up if I didn't feel like I've had significant improvement. I'm just waiting for my taste buds to come back, because they're better, but they're not that great. And eating is not very fun. Okay, so Raylan, although not spelled like my Raylan. And so, Raylan, your psychic abilities, is that the question? Which abilities are you talking about? And I will be happy to respond. Okay. Okay. You guys okay, about the dog. Okay. I get the impression that the dog loves you and is getting used to living there. I feel like she's not completely comfortable yet, and that will happen in time. I feel like it's a good thing. I'm liking it. I feel like there's a good exchange between the two of you. So, yeah. Good puppy. Good puppy. All right. So Alexis is back and says they're understaffed. They're understaffed, but there is really a team effort energy there. And so if you can portray to them that you're willing to work, then they will like that. All right. So Marco. So people were wondering where you were. Hey, Marco. All right. All right. So Dawn wants to know, I'm still having problems with the spirit that attached to me 2 months ago. All right. So Dawn, what my feeling is, and the way that I look at spirit attachment, is that there's something going on inside of us, and that's why it's attaching. And I get the impression that something like 5 months ago happened that, I want to say hurt your feelings, but just kind of put you in a down, depressed kind of mood. Where I just feel like you just haven't had your usual energy, your usual spark. And that's what that entity is attaching to. And I feel like the little bit of energy that you are having, it's just taking that from you as well. My recommendation is to go back and look at what happened to you 5 or 6 months ago and do some work on that, do some clearing on that, so that you can regain your energy and your space. Because when your space is whole, when your auric field is solid, they can't get in and they can't bother you. That's my recommendation. All right, so we're back with the ghost with Chris and Jerry. Yes, that's what I kind of said in the rest of the comment. I said I found out it had been slaves' quarters. Okay, but see, that totally makes sense. And I feel like you picked up the energy of the slave, um, not a ghost that's tied to the building, but yes, of the slave that was there prior. So very cool. And when you can look through the eyes, so this is a little bit more interesting. When you can actually see through their eyes, see what they're seeing, that means you've actually stepped in their energy because you're standing in their body and in their space, and now you can see through them. And so just acknowledge that, because that's a different kind of seeing a ghost, if that makes sense. Cool. Okay. So Mary is back. She has stomach issues and rashes on her skin. Okay. So Mary, I'm just going to give you like phase one step. So when I look at your energy, I feel like your body seems pretty toxic. I know that your liver seems pretty toxic, and I feel like part of that is contributing to the rash on your skin. I also feel like your body's really not liking what you're giving it. Um, it makes me wonder, sometimes it's just a little bit challenging in this forum to get super deep. Um, but it makes me wonder if you have some kind of like gluten intolerance and you're eating wheat products, and that's upsetting your system, but it's also creating an allergic response, and it's setting off your liver, and it's just creating this cascading issue. So my recommendation, and this would be the first step that I would recommend to anybody coming to see me, is that you start cleaning up your diet. Eating real food, not fast food, not junk food. I would really, really try to get rid of the wheat. And if you need to eat a grain, eat potatoes or rice, but get rid of the wheat. Um, you know, there are, yeah, I'm just feeling like your body's not breaking some food down. And that would be my first guess, just based on what else I'm seeing in your system. Um, so if you want to ask a follow-up on that, please do that. All right. Dawn is here. I've had 5 angina attacks last year and long COVID, and I had to retire because of it and had to stop flying. Now I have edema. Okay. So Dawn, all right, I'm going back to the other page. FLCCC Alliance, COVID-19 criticalcare.com. And so whether you've been vaccinated or not, this is what I recently learned. Okay, this is what I recently learned, because I was starting to have some heart issues that were scaring the crap out of me. Is that even if you weren't vaccinated, you are still exposed to the spike protein, even if you had COVID. And if you had long COVID, it is potentially affecting your heart, obviously. And so that protocol that's on that webpage, that's one of the main focuses, is to strengthen the heart, get rid of the spike protein, and reduce inflammation in that tissue. And so that's something that I would recommend to you to do as well. And so maybe I'll do a whole show just on that protocol. And again, I wouldn't recommend it if I again am about a month and a half into it, and I feel better than I have felt in months, once I started that protocol. So I would recommend it. Bottle of what? All right, got to scroll up. Oh, hang on. All right, so Mike wants to know bottle of what? And so it's not a bottle of just one thing. It's a protocol of a number of different things. And again, I'm going to turn my head to go look on this other monitor. Hang on. Okay, so there's nanokinase, 100 to 200 milligrams twice a day. There's reversatol, 500 milligrams daily. Aspirin, the little baby one, 81 milligrams once a day. Magnesium, 1 to 400 milligrams daily. Omega-3 fatty acids, 2 to 4 grams a day. CoQ10, 2 to 400 milligrams a day. Melatonin, 3 to 10 milligrams at night. Bromelain, 500 milligrams twice a day. I was doing that twice a day, but I had to stop because it's a digestive enzyme and it was killing my stomach. And then berberine, 500 to 600 milligrams twice a day. And again, if you guys want, and let me know, I can do a show on this and put that together for next week because it really is good information. All right, so let's see. So Mary's back. Yes, I have stomach issues and rashes on my skin. Also been dealing with tingling hands and feet. Been to the doctor and was diagnosed with H. pylori and took antibiotics for 2 weeks, but I still feel sick and not sure if I'll get better. Okay, so I don't know how well antibiotics really get rid of H. pylori in the big picture of things. Okay, so Mary, you got a lot of stuff going on all at the same time. That's why I was just kind of keeping it very simple. I think the first thing, again, I'm going to go back to the first thing for you is really cutting down on those carbs, getting rid of the wheat, cutting down on the carbs. I mean, I feel like you have Candida. Nature's Sunshine. So this is a brand. It's called Nature's Sunshine. And they sell this on Amazon. And they make a product called Gastro Health. So Nature's Sunshine Gastro Health. And it is designed to help kill the H. pylori. And it is a much, I'm going to say, safer way of dealing with it than doing the antibiotics, because the antibiotics just kill all the good bacteria in the gut, and then you just end up with really bad candida after that, which makes your liver toxic, and it just perpetuates this whole dynamic in the body. And I feel like you have all of these things that are contributing. And again, to me, the first place for you is to start cleaning up that diet, starting to cut back on carbs, eating more, regular meat or regular food, the stuff from around the aisles, around the edges of the supermarket, and not from the inside of the supermarket. Not junk food, not fast food. But again, Nature's Sunshine Gastro Health will help deal with the H. pylori, and it might help with some of the stomach issues, but it won't help with everything else that's going on that medical doctors don't necessarily even look at. Okay. All right, so Kate says hi. All right, so Christopher Perry 3 says, hi, Dr. Louise. I'm aiming to speak more about the effects of alcohol. There is plenty of physical research. What is the influence of alcohol on our etheric, emotional, astral, and mental bodies? Well, that's an interesting question. All right, hang on. So I'm going to have to think on that one a second. Okay. So, interesting question. I've never even thought to look. The first thing that I'm seeing is that if there's alcohol consumption, it just slows down your vibration, and not just in one body, but all of the bodies. I feel like depending on what's going on for you, if there's a lot of energy sitting in any of the specific bodies, that it can make it, I'm going to say, and then it just kind of goes a little haywire. So if there's a lot of emotional energy sitting in the emotional body, it might make you be more emotional. If there's a lot of energy in the mental body, it might make you a little, and I'm going to say crazy. um, and so it definitely has an effect. Um, and I'm feeling like you're looking for kind of a more specific angle on this. And so if you could maybe clarify just a little bit on that question, that would be great. Um, all right, so Raylan says, just any ability you feel called to talk about. Okay. Okay. So Raylan, I get the impression that you tend to be a very visual person. And so people that are visual tend to be more clairvoyant in nature. I feel like your kind of secondary skill is clairsentient, where you tend to feel things. Um, Now, kind of like what I was talking about in the beginning of this episode, you don't necessarily listen to those feelings, but you have them. Um, so, yeah. All right. All right. So Christine says, "Do I have any underlying health issues I should be aware of?" Okay, so that's just Christine. It's just too broad of a question. We have a lot of body parts, and so in order for me to assess any generic underlying issues, I mean that's an hour session right there. So if you would like something like that, I would, schedule a private consultation, but that's outside the scope of this form. If you have a specific question, that's great. If not, sorry. All right, so Dawn says, Chris, if you are abusing drinking, you need to sit down with yourself and try to find out. Well, but we don't even know that, Dawn. He was just asking the question. All right, Kate says, I'm currently at a standstill in terms of knowing what career path to follow or whether to return to education. Do you think there's a certain topic career I'd thrive in and destined for? Um, okay, so it's a little hard to say like this career, but I can talk about things that you like and that you don't like that would make you happy. So I feel like you have and I'm going to say a good imagination. That might not be the right word for it. I feel like you're very good with technology. I get the impression that you can, you know, people are okay, but if you can kind of avoid them, that would be even better. So working in a job in like customer service or that kind of thing, not your deal. Um, I get the impression that you like to figure things out, and maybe that's the creative part. You like to figure things out, you like to solve puzzles and come up with solutions. And I feel like that's the part that gives you really a lot of satisfaction. Not really into team activities like, hey, well, we need to do this. And it's like, um, you really are a self starter and self motivated. And I feel like even having to work on a project with other people, it would just slow you down and take you out of your vibe, out of your groove. So I don't know if that helps and kind of fits in with anything that you've been playing around with. Okay. So Chris is back saying, any ways to build up your aura for protection? And Chris, I'm assuming you're the ghost person or the entity person. It's not about building up your aura. It's about healing the hurt that's inside of you. Because we can build up our aura, but we can only do it for so much time. I've done a lot of spirit work with people, and I have other people come and say, oh, well, I spent all this money trying to get rid of an entity, and I went to this healer and it was great for a while, but it came back. And the reason why it comes back is the healer, one, moved the spirit out of your space. They worked with you to help heal and clear your energy field, and you were able to maintain it for a period of time. But then something else triggered that same emotional energy. Your energy dropped, and it opened the door for the spirit to come back in. So it's not, I can work with someone to help them resolve whatever it is that's inside of them that's being activated. But if you want to just sit there and have your auric field be strong, that only lasts for, I can't even make it through Walmart with my, stainless steel aura intact, because it's too much energy. Nobody can do that. But you can make it where you're not triggered by things, except maybe going to Walmart, which always sucks. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to you. All right, where are we? We got about 6 minutes. Oh, so we have growing Jerica spammer. Okay, so I think growing Jerica wants a reading. What do you think? All right, anyway. All right, so Dawn says, thank you, Dr. Rita. I figured about right. My mom was, I'm going to say psychic also. She used to find people for the LP. Oh, police department. I'm like going, what? Police department. Okay, cool. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, good job there, Don. All right. These are long questions today. All right. Mike says, I met somebody that I believe I've been in a past life or lives with. The feeling that I had known her since the beginning of time was overwhelming. She's out of state, and I know she's had bad experiences with men. When I went to go see her, it did not go well. I saw her a few months, and she hugged me and was friendly, and we had weird dreams and have had weird dreams ever since, which has happened the few times I've seen her. Anything I can do to break through? Also, why did we meet? So I'm assuming that you mean breakthrough to her, and I'm not feeling that relationship. I feel like she has a lot that she needs to work through. Um, and I'm just going to be honest here, be real here. I don't know that it would take a lot of your energy to give her the support and nurturing she needs. You would be kind of picking up her pieces, and I don't think that would be fair to you. I feel like you guys met because it's a bit of a test. I feel like you have a propensity to be a little bit of a people pleaser and a helper guy. And I feel like your test is to not rescue, not save. And for her, I feel like she experienced your love, and it might not have been this lifetime love, but your unconditional love, if that makes sense. And it gave her something to aim toward, to move toward. So I feel like it was good for both of you, for her in a positive way. And for you, again, I feel like if you tried to move forward with it, it really would just be more of a burden on your part. Sorry, just saying. Uh, okay, so where are we? Okay, so Sun has recommendations for my dental health. So Sun, can you be a bit more specific on that if we have time? Um, Don wants to know about his dad that died in 1970. Don, you're asking about dead people. Don't do dead people. And now we have, why am I getting these spammer people in here today? We have progenitor Tiao, who is just being annoying, but we're just going to just keep going. No wonder why there's so many freaking messages. Okay. Mary says, yes, I feel like my liver is impacted. I've had pimples in between my forehead, which I've read is linked to the liver. So I will check and change my diet. I've had suspicions about possible celiac disease or gluten intolerance. Can you shed more light? Thank you. But see, that's exactly what I said was gluten intolerance and celiac has to do with eating wheat and wheat products. So ditch the wheat, cleaning up your diet. I mean, I can make recommendations on herbs and supplements to support the liver and support a detox, but you're not even to that place yet. If you're eating McDonald's every day and you're taking milk thistle and dandelion and turmeric to heal the liver, you get nowhere. And so I feel like for you, the first step is starting to make some behavioral changes, which is specifically dietary changes. And then from there, that's where the supplementation and that's where the cleansing would come in. That would be my recommendation. But yeah, I mean, that was my hit originally. So I don't know if you posted that before I did the little reading thing for you. So, okay, so Veronica would like for me to do a COVID relief show. And Cindy, I'm assuming that you're still there. Could you send me a text? Because then Jill, and now we're all going to get it. And then one about addressing long COVID. I think that would make for a really good show. All right. All right. So John says, thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm so perplexed as to what career to take. I'm getting a strong calling to be an energy healer, yet I'm lost and it's causing a huge amount of distress. Okay. So John, again, just being real, I feel like you feel a little awkward doing energy work. I don't know if you feel awkward because a lot of the clientele are women. I'm not quite sure on that. I also feel like there are holes in your education. Um, where you just don't have a lot of time and practice in it. And so I'm going to post this here. Um, and I'm not trying to do this as like a giant pitch, but this is the training program I offer where you can learn to become an energy medicine practitioner, intuitive counselor, or certified medical intuitive by going to that site. Okay. All right. Wow, this is just headaches and brain fog. There's a few different things that can be going on. And so when I look at your energy, so I feel like for you, there's a certain, God, there's my phone is blowing up and I usually don't have it on me. Anyway, there's a certain amount of liver congestion that's going on that is contributing to the issue, about 40% liver congestion, which is really not over the top, but not too bad. All right, this, ooh. Actually, they took me to a totally different place. One of the things that your headache, eye ache kind of things. And so I'm going to go with this direction just for this form and as a next place to go. I would go and like get a neti pot or, you know, anything that you can do to consistently clean out those sinuses, because when I look in the sinuses and up in them, they just seem like they seem dusty and they seem dirty and they seem really dry and that there's not any moisture in them. You know, one of the other things that I've recommended to people, and usually I recommend it for ear stuff, but on Amazon, okay, so back in the day, and I guess they sold them all the time, there were these like facial saunas that you could just like stick your face in and get rid of blackheads. And now they make ones that just go over your mouth and nose, and it has like steamy air in it. And they have ones where you can actually put essential oils into them. And getting something like that and then just breathing that, or if you belong to a gym that has a steam room, especially the ones that have the eucalyptus steam rooms, go in there and just breathe and breathe, because I will bet that there's a bunch of dried up stuff up in your sinuses that is lodged in there that would like to come out. All righty. All right, so I know that there's a ton more questions, but our time is up for today. Please come back next week and, you know, come early so that I can get to your questions. If you can't wait till next week, or if your questions are a bit more involved than I really can get into during this show, please go by my webpage, soulhealer.com, and reach out to me to schedule a private consultation. If you know anybody that could benefit from coming to this show, please refer them to my Facebook page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook, and they'll get notified of all of the upcoming lives, because it is open to the public. So anybody that would like to come, even those spammer people, are welcome. If you are more of a YouTube person, sorry, my mouse is going crazy, you can go to Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Subscribe, click the box, hit the notification button, and all those good things. Anyway, so till next week, I am Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. You all be blessed.